Just a very simple idea from this week's Parsha, Parshas Behar. The pasuk says, "V'chi yamuch achicha umate yado imach." When your fellow Jew's hand shall falter, this is the literal translation of the pasuk. When your fellow's hand shall falter, with you, v'hechezakta bo, and you shall strengthen him, you shall grab him, literally, you shall hold him. That's what it means. This pasuk is talking about somebody whose financial situation has taken a turn for the worse. And the Torah is instructing us to simply help that person. But Rashi says something here that sheds a little more light onto the situation. Rashi says, "V'hechezakta bo," and you shall hold him. Rashi says, "Al tanichenu sheyered v'yipol." Do not leave him so that he shall descend and fall. V'yukashe l'hakimo. It'll be very difficult to raise him up, to get him back up to where he was before. Ele chazkehu mishas motas hayad. Right as you see him starting to head downwards, when things seem to be taking a turn for the worse, right at that point, you should help him. Do what you can to help. Rashi brings a very interesting mashal. He says, Lama ze domeh. To what is this similar? Lemasui she'al hachamor. To a load that is on a donkey's back. Echad tofis bo uma'amido. One person could come, and the load is on the donkey's back, and it's just sliding off. One person alone can come, make the necessary adjustment, and the load won't fall. And the donkey can carry on. However, nafal la'aretz, if it falls to the ground, chamisha ein ma'amidinoso. 5 people would not be able to lift this load back up onto the donkey. It will take a tremendous amount of manpower to put things back up the way they were. Similarly, in one's financial situation, if the person were to fall and go completely to ground zero, it's going to require tremendous effort, tremendous funds to put the person back up where he was again. I was thinking of perhaps another mashal, something that we might all be able to envision clearly in our minds. If you've ever seen the launching of a space shuttle, when the shuttle is initially launched, a tremendous amount of fuel and rocket power is exerted and invested in order to launch this spaceship into outer space. There's such a speed which is known as the escape velocity. This is a speed that the spaceship needs to reach in order to get out of the orbit of the Earth and free itself from the gravitational pull of the atmosphere. This escape velocity is somewhere around 17,500 feet a second. Okay? It doesn't start off at that, obviously, but this power, which is boosting it into orbit, in a very short period of time, tremendous acceleration, it reaches that speed. Okay? It's called the escape velocity. Likewise, when an individual should actually realize a his financial demise, right? It's going to require a tremendous amount of power to put him back up into his orbit where he will be able to function properly. This is what we can say for an individual. I believe that the same holds for a cause. And our Rosh Hashiva often mentions a midrash that the Kohanim will one day be brought to din, and they will be asked some very uncomfortable questions. Specifically, they will be asked, you were given the privilege to live off of the fat of the lands. Where is your Torah? Why aren't you learning Torah? The Kohanim were to be the epicenter of Torah, the source of Torah amongst the Jewish people. And they will be asked, where is your Torah? You do not have to worry about making a living. Hashem took care of all of that. And the Midrash says that the Kohanim will turn and they will respond and say the following. Indeed, it says in the Torah that we have this privilege, that we're supposed to be supported. But the people never gave. They never fulfilled their mitzvah of giving the gifts to the Kohanim. And therefore, the Torah went from its prestige to the dust. And I was thinking this week that this same idea of needing that initial, if one were to come to that situation of being bankrupt, so to speak, the same idea could apply to Sfiras HaOmer. Just a thought. Why is it that Sfiras HaOmer and Pesach overlap? The first week, essentially, of Sfiras HaOmer occurs during Pesach. Why is this? So the Sfarim say that when the Jews left Mitzrayim, we were at the 49th level of Tumah. And their mission was to ascend to a level where they would be fit to accept the Torah. They had to go from the level 49 to level 1. In order to go through such a transition, such an ascent, they needed a serious injection of Kedusha at the beginning. Pesach was that injection. 7 days of matzah. 7 days of understanding the hashkacha pratis of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, divine intervention and how He's taking care of us. With that in mind, we were able to launch ourselves out of the atmosphere which was confining us, which was presenting obstacles to our spirituality. It put on target the Torah, where essentially we could be free of the atmosphere, of this worldly atmosphere. There's some simple thoughts that we wanted to share on this week's Parsha, and perhaps give us a little bit of chizuk, some strengthening in Sfiras HaOmer.